Hey kiddies! So it's Mental Health Awareness Week this week and it's all about relationships, so I thought I'd invite in Ashton, my boyfriend of 2.5 years, to talk about a little bit of how we dealt with mental health in our relationship. So you probably can hear that. That is my next door neighbour being really annoying. So please ignore that. Hopefully you won't be able to hear it too much in the video, but we'll try and bypass that. When I met Ashton, we were both 17 and we met her at a party, and at that point in time I had been recovered from self-harm for 2 years. I was in a very close-knit friendship group, but at that point in time I could tell it was sort of breaking off a little bit, and at that point in my anxiety and depression, I was very happy at that point in time, very happy, because I had passed my driving test. A few months beforehand I had gone on to my tablets, my antidepressants, and I had basically been in this whole new sort of a place I'd never been before, where I could go out, have fun without having to worry about panic attacks. So it's all very good, and I'd never been in a relationship beforehand. Suffering from anxiety, I always got in my head that I never would be in a relationship, and sort of it's quite confusing. It's kind of, I went to an all-girls school, so we never had any guys around. And the guys that kind of would ask me out would have asked all my other mates out first, and it was kind of like they wanted just a girlfriend rather than they actually liked me. So we met when we were both at a party, we were both very drunk, and yeah,
a little drunk.
So a little bit backstory. We met and our first date didn't really go well, did it? I think I got very anxious about it.
Yeah.
Very cut off where Ashton had never suffered from anything like this, so I think you were quite touchy-feely at first.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also I had my tight group of friends. It was very much breaking off at this point, and there was a lot of drama going on, and I don't know how long after we met, but I remember you asked me out, and then I said, I don't know if I'm ready for this or something, a little while afterwards. And then I kind of had a really bad breakdown where I kind of relapsed, self-harmed again, would get very bad panic attacks. Not like as bad as they used to be without the antidepressants. They helped a lot, but it was a huge change in my life, where going into a relationship was huge for me. I'd never been in anything like that before, and I'm also autistic as well, which those people naturally don't have very touchy-feely sort of personalities. That's kind of the backstory of it, really. I think we didn't meet that much.
No.
When we first started going out, and I think you got quite anxious.
Yeah, it was largely my fault.
It wasn't you say that, but like I definitely didn't help with it, because I put up these walls, and it was horrible because I really liked you, but I kind of thought that you wouldn't want to go out with someone like me. I thought, why would you? What I got in my head was, there's so many people without these problems. Why would he go for someone with all these problems? There's better people out there. Why would he go for someone like me? Which isn't the case, because anyone, if you've never had a boyfriend before and you're thinking the same way I used to, and I used to get told this all the time, oh, you'll find someone, people don't care about that, you'll recover, you'll get better, and I didn't believe them, but honestly, you do. Like, I'm kind of a proof of that in a little bit of a way, but I can just see myself, if I ever watched this video when I was younger, I'd be like, what does she know? But I just didn't know whether to tell you or not, and I remember having to sit down. It was a Wednesday for some reason. I remember it being a Wednesday, and we Skyped, and I just had to tell you everything, and I think that was late January time. That's about 2 months, maybe even. I don't think it would have been 3 months into our relationship.
Maybe three, I'd say.
But how did you feel about that? Like finding all that out?
I don't know. At the time, I was a little scared. I didn't really know what to expect, and I was kind of worried that you would sort of leave me out of fear, in a way. Like
Yeah.
you
Because I
feel...
I told you about the anxiety and depression. I don't know. Did I tell you about the self-harm at that point?
No. At that point. I found out later.
Okay. When did you find out?
I think only after you self-harmed while we were together, and I found out by
That's
noticing.
early on.
Yeah.
You noticed? I'm sure I would have told you.
I think I noticed, and you told me very shortly afterwards. But
Oh.
yeah,
How did you notice?
just your arms.
When was that? Was that quite early on, or?
I don't remember. I think it was fairly early on.
Yeah, I have to say I'm quite lucky. I don't really scar very well. I mean, I've self-harmed for donkey's year. Well, not so much anymore. I haven't self-harmed in, I think last time was October, and before then was about July. We'll get onto that later on. But I never really did it very badly, like some people. I haven't got scars. I've got a few, but I'm very pale as well, so I think that doesn't show as much. There weren't ever like red scars or anything. So, exactly, so you can't see anything on my arms at all, or on my legs. Apart from occasional dot, or like when I tan or something, but then even then you can't tell. But yeah, so I told you over Skype, didn't I? And
Yeah.
I generally was terrified you were going to leave me. I was convinced you were going to leave me. I was scared. Why were you scared of me leaving you? Because I was having because of panic attacks.
I was worried that you would kind of close off,
That could have happened.
like wall yourself up, and I wouldn't see you, and we'd grow apart, and it scared me because I thought you would.
Yeah. I think my biggest fear of telling you anything was the autism. That was huge. I think my mum told you before anyone else, because she just brought up, because I'm so open with it. She was just like, oh yeah, Lily's autism, and I was like, no mum!
Yeah. I think it was just a passing comment in conversation.
The other thing was, I put up a post on Tumblr about a month before I met you, and that mentioned self-harm and autism in there. And I think you read that.
I don't have Tumblr.
No, but I think it was on my Facebook and stuff, and I think somehow you might have read that.
Maybe, yeah.
I think you did, so that's probably how you might have found out. Anyway, so I kind of had an inkling you knew, but that was always my biggest fear, because everything else, you can kind of, that is something I've just got stuck for life, but weirdly, out of all my mental health issues, that's the one I'm least bothered about, because I'm born with that, that's just who I am. But yeah, that was the most one that I was more affected about telling you about, because of, it's always bothered me about children. Like, my children could have that, and then they could go through the same problems I've had. And that's always been a sensitive subject for me, but that always worried me. Eating disorder wise, I can't ever remember telling you about that. I don't know if I ever properly and formally told you.
I just kind of picked up on it from...
Because at that point, I hadn't had an eating disorder for a long time. It was when I was a lot younger that I had an eating disorder. And I remember, don't know why, but I remember telling you that I had suicidal thoughts and problems when we were in Brighton, staying away.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Why did I bring that up? I think I got really upset and something happened, like maybe locally or something happened where someone had died by that, and then we were talking about it. And then I got really upset about it because that's what happened to me years ago. That's a long time ago now.
I remember looking through your old Facebook pictures and seeing...
Stalker.
No, with you.
When?
I can't remember when, but I remember going through the
Which time? We've done this a million
going
times
through the
ago.
pictures with you and
Oh, I was
finding
looking.
one of the pictures, and I was like, oh, that's a nice picture of you, and you were like, that's when I had, like, I was just getting over my eating disorder.
That was before.
Oh.
That's the scary thing about that photo. That was probably just before it got really bad. You can see it in my eating disorder story video. You can see it on my channel. It's quite a new one. So that's how we kind of told each other about these sort of things, and then we sort of. So obviously I still deal with these sort of problems. I mean, about a year ago I was unemployed and I was I was going for a really bad job, and I decided to come off my antidepressants. The main reason because of that was because I felt like you were going out with a fake. Because I felt like he'd never seen the real me. And that's why I didn't feel like me, so I came off them cold turkey. Tip to anyone, don't ever come off them cold turkey. And then I think the most memorable worst panic attack, now a lot of times in the past I look back at like people bring up stuff and I can't remember. I block a lot of it out, but in the last about 2 years, my worst panic attack was with you in Brighton when we were going to see that uni, and I hadn't had any. I was nervous about it beforehand, but I'd come off my antidepressants, and that was an awful time.
Poorly timed.
That was poorly timed, and then something else happened a few months later where I also had a huge panic attack, and that was just awful. But I basically fell asleep in your dad's car.
Yeah.
What advice would you give people?
I don't know.
If you're going out with someone like me?
It depends on the moment. It's very situational on how you feel, because obviously whatever it is that you're worrying about or panicking about, it's not always the same thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. But like in general, if let's say I'm crying because I hate myself and something's gone wrong at work, and I just feel like, and for some reason I feel like I've upset you, and I feel like the worst girlfriend and person ever, and there's lip gloss on my hair.
I don't know. For me, the first thing that I try and do is cuddle you or give you a hug in some way. You always try and curl up and hide in some way, either like a curl up on the bed and try and like disappear, or you sit down like in a corner somewhere and just try and be away from things. And the first thing I try and do is always get to you.
Yeah.
First of all. I don't know, from there it's just kind of...
You're quite good at trying to get me to...
Getting you to...
Sort of see, what I need to do for myself, like...
To say, first of all, to say what's wrong.
Yeah.
What's actually freaking you out.
Sometimes it's just barely anything, isn't it? I think a big hug normally helps.
Yeah. It's always good.
I've always had the thought of I would never work out with someone with the same problems as me, because I feel like you would feed each other. Like, if you're in a relationship with someone who has got these problems and it works, and I think it works better if you've recovered, but if you're still going through these problems, it can work, but I feel like you can also feed that person, and it can be really quite hard. So I've always felt like I can't be with someone with the same problems, but also I used to always feel like I would never go out with anyone at all. So there's always these different situations, and I think be honest with each other, don't hide it. Like I hid it for a long time, but I feel like that time was right, and I needed that push to be like, you need to go and tell him and let him know that, these things...
You were worried to tell me.
You have to deal... I was worried about losing you, and I had already lost a lot of friends at that point. I think I was going through a very rough patch of losing friends, and I was like, I don't really have many people left.
I'm glad that you told me when you did. I'll say that, because if you tried
I think it was the time was right.
If you tried to keep it a secret longer, like, I understand not telling me straight away if you're worried, but if you tried to keep it secret longer, then I would have felt that either you didn't trust me,
yes,
or that you felt I wouldn't, I don't know, be able to understand or accept.
No, I get that. That's the thing, yeah. So you kind of need that feel of sort of, yeah,
there is a right time to.
I feel like straight away, like if I told you at a party, or I could have told, I reckon you would have been fine to tell sort of very early on, but it wasn't right for me. And I feel like it's a tricky one, because when we met, this was my first boyfriend. I was 17, so quite young, and I know some people watching will probably be younger, and I don't really know what it's like to go out when you're younger, but I feel like there's a right point where if you're a bit older and you sort of start doing stuff quite early on, then it feels like it needs to be a bit more earlier, and normally that by that point you're more of a adult. If you're more of an adult, I feel like it's a bit more easy, because that person's probably also got baggage, and everyone's got baggage, but
yeah,
I think it's a bit more easier when you're younger, that you can wait that little bit longer, because that's the thing. You just know when the time is right. Maybe talk to your mates and be like, look, I don't know what to tell him. Do I tell him? Because it depends if you're dating or if you're kind of full on with each other at first, because if you feel like full on, you can't really hide that much, especially if it's self-harm, if you're a certain type of people. But I think if you're suffering from those problems, it's quite a tricky one. Now, I've always said, try and tell people around you, because that always makes me feel better. If we're going into a day into London, it makes me feel better that I tell everyone that I'm going with that I suffer from anxiety, so they're prepared. But yes. Yeah, if that makes sense. If you have any other questions for us to answer, leave a comment below and we'll get back to you. In the doobly-doo. And we will answer back. And I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope it gave you some help, and also try and spread the awareness of Mental Health Awareness Week by sharing this video, or just kind of putting a post up on Facebook and stuff like that. So that would be awesome, and give us a like, and also give us a subscribe to join the unicorns. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.